Hello, people. I'm going to show you how to do the next assignment. Let me go to the screen sharing. This one, share. All right. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit more about surveying stuff today. This thing, everyone's to cooperate. All right, there we go. Okay. So, all right, if you go to the Moodle page for week 4, you should see this PDF, right? Just one lone PDF. I summarized everything into one PDF this time. So that's what this guy is here. And these are basically just surveying terms. So you can either look it up on the internet, what all these things mean, or you can use the book that's in the classroom in the desk below the projectors. It might just be easier to use the internet since it's right there at your fingertips. Plus, you wouldn't have to share the book. And so, yeah, these are all just surveying terms. The Gunter's chain is a measurement tool they used to use back in the day. It was literally a chain with chain links that were a certain measurement. And they would measure distances with the chains. Okay, and so you'd have to convert this on number 6, 5 by 20 chains. So that would be, 100 square chains. You need to convert that into acres. Okay, you can just use conversion tools to convert that from square chains to acres, or you could convert 5 chains to feet and 20 chains to feet, and then convert that into square feet, and then convert square feet to acres. Whatever you want to do. Okay, so basically number 9 refers to this page here, the following page. So basically a township is a big square, okay, of land. And it's broken down into sections normally. And you can break it down in different ways also. So you can say, for example, this is the southwest quarter of this township. Okay, you see how this is the south and the west quarter of this square, right? So this letter B here would be the northwest quarter of the northwest quarter. Does that make sense? Because this square here is the northwest quarter of this square, and this square is the northwest quarter of that square. Does that make sense? So C right here would be the southeast quarter of the northwest quarter of this township. Does that make sense? So you can break things down into quarters, or you can break things down into halves. So this letter D here would be the west half of the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter of this township. And you can just break things down like that. Halves, quarters. And if you have a property boundary that is a irregular shape, that's not a rectangle or a square, that's where, these bearings and distances come in. All right. So we're going to practice drawing some bearings and distances to create some property lines and adding labels to them, basically. This is just a surveying tool that you can use in the field to bring in surveyors' data, draw it on paper, and make a drawing and give it to your customer that's going to subdivide their land. And then the surveyors can go out there and build off of the drawings that you add to these measurements. All right. So there's many ways that you can do this. They may give you a sketch when you take Astrid surveying class, you will do this. You can make sketches. They don't have to be to scale on the sketch, but obviously we want them to scale in the drawing. And with the bearings and distances, or they could just give you a list of bearings and distances. Or they could have a legal, description, which is written out in sentences. Okay. So a helpful tool that surveyors use is called this map server. Here anyways, there's a map server, and I know there's a map server for Bighorn County. This one's just Park County. So it shows all the property boundaries. So yeah, this right here is Kanye West Ranch over here. And so you can go to the property detail. And these are actually the surveyor information that these surveyors use to define the property boundary here. Okay. So these are the kinds of drawings that you would do if you're working for a civil engineer. All right, this one's obviously written with a pen from way back in the day when draftsmen had to use pens and paper. And so, for example, on this sheet, this is a legal description. Okay. Northeast quarter of the northeast quarter, lots 1 and 4, and all that of lot 58 described as follows. Beginning at the northeast corner of said lot, running thence west along the north line of said line, 20 chains to the northwest corner thereof, then south along the west line thereof, 20 chains. Yeah, so we get it, right? Bearings and distances, and that's legally what they use to define the property boundaries of properties. Okay. And so that's the kind of things we'd be drawing. Okay. Here's another drawing. So this is a section here. You can see this is section 24. And a section is a square mile, all right? So you can break it down into smaller lots. And these lots could be square. They could be any shape you wanted, really. And so, yep, that's basically what we're going to be drawing, is something like this. We don't have to, draw all of these lots together. But maybe in the workforce you would have to. Okay. So I'm going to go back to this PDF of the instructions here. I'm going to start off with this one. So you can start anywhere here, basically. Just going to use the snipping tool and create a picture of this guy that I can just import into AutoCAD as a reference. So yeah, let's just save it in here. All right, Autodesk. And the first thing that you need to do whenever you're starting a drawing is start a drawing from your template that you made last week, okay? So go new, and then select template. See how it's searching for a template? And then go back to your H drive, computer, fall 2020, John Doe template, right? This one should say your name, obviously. Okay, so now we have our letter tab, our layout tab with our names on it already. That's the whole point of the template with the title block, all right? Make things easier. I'm gonna go ahead and insert this image that I just created with our drawing. Pictures, I'm assuming so, yep. Okay. Get fairly big. Okay, there's our reference. You don't need to do this if you don't want to. I just do it because it's easier for me. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hit polyline. It's going to start here. Okay. And we can do the same thing we were doing before, right? So go at, right? 97.25 less than N86D 29. Oh, it was freaking, my numlock was off. Okay, sorry. Start over. Right here. All right. 97.25. Oh, whoops. At 97.25. Less than N86D29 apostrophe 58 quotation E. All right. So it looks like our image is a lot bigger than it to be, really. But it doesn't really matter. We can scale the image later. Okay, so the next one would be, so it also depends on which direction you plan on going. So you see how on this dimension on the left it says north and west, right? But if you planned on going counterclockwise, you'd have to change the north from an N to an S, and the W from a W to an E. Because if you're starting up here on the top and going down, you're going southeast. But this northwest refers to if you're coming from the bottom and going up, north and west, right? So you just got to look at the shape and figure out if it needs to be swapped or not, depending on the direction that you're going. And that's literally the direction that the surveyor would go out in the field, because it would make no sense to, you know, go one place and then have to start down here and go the other place, because your points would never connect if you went, you know, the opposite way. So you just swap the north and swap the west if you're going the other direction. All right. So I'm going to do the next one. So at 160 less than. So since I'm going down, I need to change this to S, right? So S0 D 05 apostrophe 02 quotations W. So that should have drawn a line down. If I would have used the north and the east, it would have went up. Does that make sense? Because north is up. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that one did it correctly. I'm just going to end this line here because this next one is a curve, so it's a little more complicated. So I'm just going to hit escape. I'm going to draw this left side here. And you may want to change your line type to something that's not white if you want to be able to see it better. Okay. So I'm starting up here on the top again. So at 166 less than south 14 degrees 06 minutes 17 seconds east. Okay. I'm just gonna scale this guy down because it's ridiculously big. And it's kind of annoying. Properties. Move. There we go. That looks about right. Okay, that was a good guess, actually. Okay, so this guy is a curve. Obviously, the radius is 230 degrees, okay? So what you can do is just find out where you want your center of the circle to be. I'm assuming that since both of these distances are notified as RAD, that they would intersect somewhere and they're part of a angle there. So I'm just going to extend these lines. Come on. This way. Draw a circle. And let's try 230. Does that look like it intersects our lines here? Yep. All right. So then you can just use your trim command. Trim. And then, oh, frick. Trim. Gosh, dang it. I'm so used to SolidWorks these days, it doesn't work the same. Oh my gosh. If you really wanted to, you could, oh, it looks like they don't quite intersect. Okay. I'm gonna go to the arc command. Start here, go there. Whoa. Dang it. I need to use my other arc command. Start and center, where is it? Oh, we can do this, start and radius, that works. So start, end, and then the radius. Can we just type in 230? No. Radius, let's change this guy, 230. Frickin'. Gosh. I'm gonna rotate this guy. About this point. There, finally. Okay. Delete this circle. I guess you could use the mirror tool also and flop that guy the other direction. If you wanted to, you can go polyline, draw a line here, and then go to mirror, mirror this guy. Yep. First point of mirror line. Yes. There. That's probably the best way to do it. And I can delete this line. There we go. So there's our lot 300. All right. So if we want to label that guy, go to this annotate, which basically just defines labels basically. So go to add labels, parcel, multiple segments, and then click on your polyline. If they're all connected, then you should only have to select once. Right? And you can see that my labels are super tiny right now. So we can go here and change the annotation scale to something bigger. Something smaller than that. Okay. And you can see that my length and radius are a little bit off compared to this guy. But for the sake of simplicity, don't worry about that. You will fix that later in the field. Okay. And so the fact that this thing says south and west, I mean, it's the same angle and distance, so it doesn't really matter. It just depends on how you drew the line. Alrighty. As long as the bearings and distances are the same, you're golden. In reality, you'd probably want to fix this angle so it's accurate, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to. And you guys don't really have to either, unless you want to make it perfect. All right, so that's the first little drawing for this assignment. The next one's the same thing. Alrighty. So just do that same thing. And if you want to, you can actually add the lot 300 label in there. So you can go and hit, you can just do a text, probably. Okay, I'm just gonna type in mtext for a multi-liter text. And then lot 300. Probably want that all caps. Okay. Change this guy's scale. Properties, where's the properties? There we are. Height, let's change this to 2. Or maybe 6. There we go. Alrighty, so now we have our little property label in there. And later in the 3D class, we will talk about other ways you can do this with the labeling and all that. You can make it automatic. Civil 3D can do all the work for you. But for now, we can just use an mtext for our labeling. All right, so you can do the same thing for this guy, lot 316. Bearing distance, just draw a line at 129.4 south, 15 degrees, 40 minutes, 32 seconds east. All right, and then that would draw your line and then connect the dots. All right, same thing here for this guy. Point of beginning, distance, bearing. Okay. And one thing that I may not have explained well last week is that the drawing from last week, you had something like this, but the end point did not meet up with the beginning point, which is completely normal because a lot of the times, there's some error in your surveying data. And so when you actually draw it in real life on the computer to scale, they may not meet up completely, and you'd have to just tell your engineer, this guy doesn't meet up, and he would calculate the error and fix it, basically. Adjust these bearings and distances to be accurate, and that would be your job to change them so that the beginning and end do start and end in the same point. Ready? So this is basically the same thing. This is what they would do for legal description. So, you know, you'd start somewhere. You'd start 60 feet, 66 feet north of the right of way. And then you would go north this distance at this bearing, right? West, this distance, this bearing. South, this distance, that bearing. And then the last one would be this distance and this bearing. To the point of beginning, all right? So, yep, that's how you do it, same way. And then if you actually had a legal description that you were drawing, you would literally type this out on the bottom. Yep. Type out all of this. And that's how you'd end up with, you know, one of these drawings with a legal description, and then you can have a little view of, you know, the parcel that you drew up. All right. So where's the next part of the assignment? Okay, so basically I just want you to label all the segments. And use the letter size layout tab to print them off. Okay, insert 2 viewports on each layout tab. Position 1 problem in each viewport. Okay, so if you don't know how to create a new viewport, so go to letter tab, right? So this is the one that's from the template, and you can see that you have one viewport here, right? So if you want, you can go to view. Actually, maybe not insert. I thought it was under view. View. Here. Oh, I'm missing my menu bar. That's why. Okay. Menu bar 1. Okay. Now we have this other view. Okay. So you see how I just added this other bar up here. So go to view, viewports, 2 viewports. And this is how you can split them up. If you want them vertically split or horizontally split. We don't want to leave it as vertical. Actually, yeah. So bloop and boom. So now I have created 2 viewports. Yep. So you can double click in this guy, set this guy up to this property boundary, set my scale to something that you can use with the engineer scale. So that looks better. 40, maybe 30. Let's try 30. There we go. That fills it up pretty well. Alrighty, and then go ahead and lock your viewport. And for example, if this was that next problem, you have the sketch there. Do the same thing, right? Set this guy up to 30. Alrighty, and lock. And then go ahead and add your north arrows. Click on your viewport. There you go, and you can see it's super tiny. You can select this guy and drag this little arrow here. Beep. And there you go, now it's bigger. Oh yes, another helpful tool. So if we don't want to show this line on our viewport, we can change the layer to one called def points. Okay, I don't know if you've ever heard of this layer, but in AutoCAD, if you have something on the layer def points, it means that it will not print. Okay, so you can see it in your drawing, but it will not print. So change this guy to def points also. Whoa, I went a little low there. Def points. Okay. And the problem that I may have is that the old viewport is still there. So I'm going to freeze def points now to reveal, oh, apparently, the other one was on def points. Frick. I'm gonna undo this actually, sorry. There's this. I'm gonna put this back on just some random layer, okay? Okay, that one's on 0. All right. So now I'm going to go and freeze layer 0. Okay, this is the original viewport that I want to delete. Okay, so delete. I'm going to turn back on 0. And now I can put these guys on def points. Oh, there she is. Def points. And def points. Right. Here. Okay. Now when you go to print, those should be invisible. So plot, single sheet. Okay. Let's just okay, select, let's go to a PDF. So AutoCAD DWG to PDF. Just gonna preview it. Boom, there is no line around our viewport. Obviously there's a line here because this is an image and I didn't turn the image clipping thing to 0, all right? So if I wanted to get rid of this line here, I need to go and change the image frame to 0, just like how we did last week. See, the line disappeared. Plot, DWG to PDF, preview, boom. All right. Obviously, you would not have this here because you would do the rest of the assignment and then have the other parcel there. All right. Does that make sense? So you would put in this guy instead, your version of lot 316. And then you would put, you know, on the next sheet, problem P8-4. Okay. So if you want to set up, so for that P8-4, if you want another layout tab just like this one, you can right click on the letter tab and hit this move or copy option, and then click on create a copy. So we want to put it before 11/17 so that these two letters are together, and then just hit OK. And now you can see we have another layout tab here. And this is where, you know, our other parcel here. I'm just going to draw some random shape. Doop, 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 doop. Okay. And then you would obviously draw that according to that instructions there. So you would add your labels. I'm just going to review this real fast. Multiple segments. Boom. Okay. And then you can just copy this M text, put it over here, and then it's whatever, P8-4, right? I'm just going to change this to lot 30. Okay. Alrighty, so that would be the next one. Okay. And then you can just double click in here, pan down, and you can see that, you know, obviously your scale 1 inch equals 30 would not work in this situation because it doesn't fit. So change this guy to maybe 60, or let's try 50. Beautiful. 50 is perfect. All right. And you can tell that, you know, obviously this viewport is in a different scale than that viewport. So that's where this scale bar comes in handy. Okay. So just click on one of these scale bars, and we know this guy is the scale of 50, right? So type in 50, change this guy to feet, hit OK. Boom. All right. This guy, let's just double check. I think it was 30. Yep, 30. Scale bar, 30 feet. Okay. So you can see that literally, you know, this distance from here to there should be 1 inch on your paper. And from here to there is 1 inch. But in this viewport, that represents 50 feet, and this one represents 30 feet. That makes sense? And you can double check those distances by drawing a circle in paper space, or you could use the DIST for the distance command. See, 1 inch, exactly. So as long as your printer is set up correctly, when you print that guy off, she should be good. All right. And then make sure you have your north arrow for your other viewport. Okay, because maybe your viewport's rotated. And it might not be aligned to the same north arrow. All right. So make sure for each viewport, you have your scale if these differ, and north arrow if these differ. But I mean, since they don't differ, you could probably just get rid of the second one, really. But if they do, make sure you specify that. Ready? And that is basically the assignment. Alrighty. Adding labels. Setting it up on the lettered layout tab. And filling out the rest of this guy. So right here, yeah, so I want you to calculate, all right, legal description. So this B, what I said was, you know, it is the northwest corner of the northwest corner of this township. And then I want you to also calculate how many acres that is. Okay. So if one of these guys is a square mile, how many acres is that? I believe it's 640. I'm just going to double check. How many acres in a square? Yep. So I just gave you the answer for letter B on that one. Alrighty, because it's one section. So this guy should be 640, 640. This one should be 640 times 2, should be 640 divided by 2, divided by 2, divided by 2, divided by 4, divided by 8, right? And then divided by 16. Okay, something like that. Alrighty, if you have any issues, just let me know. Thanks.